Now let's get right into today's topic, the science of prayers. The reason why I chose this topic today is because um, last week, a week and a half ago, there was there was an article on the Wall Street Journal. It was called "The Science of Prayer." And this article was very interesting. It's not from an approach that it doesn't work, prayers don't work, but it talks about a lot of psychologists and other scientists who's done a lot of experiments of how prayers actually work. And so it's very interesting, right? First thing that it says is since the coronavirus pandemic, more and more people are searching the word prayers. So if I quote from this article, many people are looking to a higher power for the comfort these days. In March, the number of Google searches for prayer skyrocketed, according to a not yet published analysis of search results for 95 countries by an economist at the University of Copenhagen. A Pew Research Center survey in March also found that more than half of Americans had prayed to end the spread of coronavirus. There may still be some atheists in foxholes, says Kenneth Pargament, a professor emeritus in the Department of Psychology at Bowling Green State University in Ohio, who studies how people use religion to cope with major life stressors and trauma. But, she says, the general trend is for the religious impulse to quicken in a time of crisis. So, yes, during the times of crisis, it's our impulse, it's a religious impulse to pray. And in this article, it talks about how not only people are searching for prayers, but the actual effects of prayers that have been scientifically experimented and shown results. Just to name a few, they're saying that you'll be able to feel peace. People felt less reactive to negative realities, and they were less angry, and they also sensed a connection. So these are the people who've gone through the experiments of this research of living their lives with prayers or not. And also, what I thought was very interesting in this article is it talks about the difference between a secular meditation and a spiritual meditation. I mean, a spiritual meditation, I guess it can mean prayers. But in the article, it goes like this. A 2005 study in the Journal of Behavioral Medicine comparing secular and spiritual forms of meditation found spiritual meditation to be more calming. In secular meditation, you focus on something such as your breath or a non-spiritual world. In spiritual meditation, you focus on a spiritual world or text. Participants were divided into groups, with some being taught how to meditate using words of self-affirmation, such as, I am love, and others taught how to meditate with words that described a higher power, such as, God is love. They then meditated for 20 minutes a day for 4 weeks. Researchers found that the group that practiced spiritual meditation showed greater decreases in anxiety and stress and more positive mood. They also tolerated pain almost twice as long when asked to put their hand in an ice water bath. So that's very interesting. I guess compared to secular prayers or secular methods, spiritual methods works scientifically after experimenting. This was the result. Now, is this a new concept? Of course not. Of course not. I guess back in the days of Shakyamuni Buddha, you may think that there aren't any prayers in Buddhism, but there is something called chanting the sutra or recitation of the sutras. So that's prayers. And strictly speaking, prayers will be included in the Eightfold Path too, in the right will and also the right meditation. And also in the times of Jesus Christ, of course, he used a lot of prayers, right? But the collaboration of prayers and science, when did this start? Actually, I don't know the whole history, but what I've been learning from my research is that in the 20th century, a lot of pastors here in the United States or the New Age movement started trying to prove that religion and science is compatible, or religion is not something that's extremely theoretical, but it's very practical. And today, I'm basing a lot of the teachings on Master Okawa, but also these two famous pastors here in the United States, Norman Vincent Peale and Joseph Murphy. So these two, as you maybe know, these two are actually guiding spirits of happy science. So after they're both already deceased, but in the spiritual world, they have been helping, giving guidance to happy science. And Joseph Murphy, in his book, The Power of Your Subconscious Mind, he states that scientific prayer is the harmonious interaction of the conscious and subconscious levels of mind, scientifically directed for a specific purpose. So he uses this term science twice in this sentence, right? And then also Norman Vincent Peale, in a book called The Power of Positive Thinking, which is I think, it's a classic. A lot of people know about this book. But he says, religious faith may very well be concerned a science, for it responds invariably to certain formula. Perform the techniques of faith according to laws of which have been proved workable in human experience, and you will always get a result of power. So the reason why we use the term science and prayers is that if you do prayers in a certain correct method, your life will become better no matter what. There's always a good result that accompanies prayers, and that has been scientifically proven. So these two gentlemen, Norman Vincent Peale and Joseph Murphy, after reading their books, a couple of their books, I've noticed that they use a lot of the term practical instead of theoretical. So in my words, I think what they're saying is the correct application of prayer will always work. So they are also always saying applicable. It's an applicable method, and it's very simple. So what I want you to get from today's service is, after watching today's service on YouTube, I want you to feel or know how to pray effectively or correctly so that you will have good results no matter what. This is assured no matter what, if you apply it correctly, though. There is a correct method of using prayers, and that's what we'll be diving into today, mainly from the book, The Power of Positive Thinking, and also from Master Okawa's books, too. The first half will be from Norman Vincent Peale's methods, and then the latter half would be Master Okawa's teachings on prayers. But before we get into how to pray or how to increase prayer power, let's look at this question. Why then do prayers work to change our lives, the other people's lives, our society, even our country, and even this whole planet? Why do prayers work? It's simply based on the spiritual universal law. What you think is who you are. What you think is who you are. Master has taught this repetitively in Happy Science teachings. And also there are famous people, many people across the world, East, West, ancient, today, a lot of people has been stating something similar. If you look at these quotes, the greatest discovery of my generation is that human beings can alter their lives by altering their attitudes of mind. A man's life is what his thoughts make of it. A man is what he thinks about all day long. So this is the basis of why prayers work. Prayer is a function to reform your mind. I said it in very secular terms, but prayer, I think, is a function to reform your mind. To be even more secular for, I guess, San Francisco folks can understand, it's reprogramming your brain. It's going to reprogram the way you think. And by doing so, what happens is that's going to eventually manifest into our lives. Yes, some of the naysayers will be like, well, I've prayed before and I haven't gotten the results. Again, there is a correct way of praying. And also, praying doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to get the exact results of what you prayed. What we mean by prayer's work is that from the level you are at right now, you will certainly step forward, step upward, and step onward, no matter what. So that's what we mean that prayers will work. But again, today, you'll be learning how to increase that prayer efficiency. So let's dive right in. So what you think is who you are. If I were to use this principle to be able to find the best benefit in my life, I thought you should think God. Think God. Think Buddha. Think Allah. For us in Happy Science, for all of you in the world, think El Cantare, the name of the supreme God of earth at the roots of all world religions. Thinking about him will actually reform your mind at the highest level of strength. And here I would like to quote a passage, 2 pages from this book that Master wrote, The Philosophy of Progress. I'm sure many of you some of you may feel the word God as something that is demanding, or that's just not for me. For those types of people, Master writes it really interesting in this book, The Philosophy of Progress, Chapter 3. So I'd like to quote 2 pages. Living with optimism. Perhaps not many people have experienced for themselves the effectiveness of an optimistic attitude in carving out a path through life. Although people have heard or read about the power of positive thinking, only a few have actually put it to the test. Having a positive outlook is the simplest and easiest form of spiritual life. Even those who shun religious faith can accept this. This perspective is based on the belief that seeing the bright side of any situation and interpreting it in a positive way will open up a wonderful life. Even if you have not been a devout follower of any particular religion, if you have lived your life believing this simple truth, you will be able to say your life has already been 80% successful. It may be difficult to understand the existence of God as an abstract philosophical concept. For some, believing is like trying to swallow a pill that has gotten stuck in their throat. There are, however, other ways to approach God, the easiest being to assimilate God's attributes. Doing this will have almost the same effect as believing in God, even if you have not studied any abstract religious theories or explored any theological knowledge. The essence of God is light. In other words, brightness. It is possible to simplify an understanding of the path to happiness and the path to God as living with the dazzling brightness of sunshine and thinking in a truly positive way. So, if your mind is too full of complicated ideas, cut all the chains of the mind in one stroke. Sweep away anything that has become tangled with complicated ideas as if you were sweeping out spiders' webs with a broom. The starting point is simply to live brightly. The attitude of trying to live cheerfully, to see, act, and think in a positive way is in itself a path to faith. It is the act of taking God into you. End quote. So, as you can see, thinking positive is already a practice of spirituality, and it's already a practice of faith, because thinking positive is what thinking God means. God is positive. God is light. God is bright. What does brightness mean in your personality? It means being positive no matter what. The sun is always shining, right? Even though we believe that the sun isn't shining when the clouds are out and when it's raining, but up above those raining clouds, the sun is always shining. You may feel that it is night right now, but on the other side of the planet, the sun is shining. So the sun is always shining. That is what God is. And that is what is very important for us to be able to uplift ourselves from our life's ordeals and sufferings and to overcome any difficulties. It's a positive mindset. Thinking God, thinking El Cantare. That is the way, a sure way to make your life a step better day by day. I really love this book, The Philosophy of Progress. In that same chapter, Master is saying, if you can believe that tomorrow is going to be better than today, and if you can continue believing that, you have already succeeded in your life 80%. All you gotta believe is tomorrow is a better day, and today is gonna be a better day than yesterday. How do you do that? That is what we'll be learning today. Even though I did not have it in my slides, one of very important aspects that Norman Vincent Peale talks about in this book is attitudes matter more than reality. Attitudes matter more than reality. So what you think is everything. Subjectively speaking, it's everything. And eventually, it's going to be an objective fact too. So what you think is going to form a bright future. And prayer is a scientific method, scientifically proven method to be able to adopt that positive mindset and say goodbye to your negative self forever. So let's get into more details. How do we do it? Where do I start? Could be your question. You start out by conditioning your mind to believe. So there are two different minds. A mind that can accept prayers and a mind that doesn't accept prayers. So if you are praying, even though you are praying, in the root of your mind, at the root of your mind, at the root of your conscious, which is called your subconscious, spiritually speaking, at the level of your guardian spirits, if you are not receptive to prayer, even if you pray verbally in your mind from a superficial consciousness, it's gonna reflect off. It's not gonna work. It's kind of like if you want to grow a crop, you need to have good soil. So you need to have a good soil, your good subconscious. How do you do that? One way is I'll be giving you some simple words of prayers later on after this slide, but Norman Vincent Peale, he's saying every day when you wake up, the first thing you do is tell yourself, I believe, 10 times. Every morning when you wake up, you say, I believe, I believe, I believe, I believe. And the point of how to sink it in deep into your mind, I would like to talk to you about Master's wisdom. So, do you know where the mind exists on our physical body? Do you know where it exists? Maybe a lot of people will think the mind is in the brain. Maybe some people will say it's in their hearts. Depending on how you've lived, Master did teach us that the mind shifts. But there are three types of people, meaning there are three types of people where the mind exists in different places. The first type is actually the mind exists in the brain. Those are the people who have more of an atheistic or materialistic perspective of life, so that thinking is their mind. They believe that the mind is in the brain. So it's at a very light part of your soul. The second type of people is they have their minds actually in their hearts or in their chest. These are, yes, fairly religious people, good-hearted people, and they have their hearts here. But a true seeker, Master has taught us, a true practitioner of faith has their mind at their lower abdomen, right below, like 2 inches below, or maybe an inch below your belly button. Whoever thought that their mind, where they're thinking, where they're feeling, where they're making decisions, is here? If you say I have, you're a great practitioner of the truth. Hats off. For me, I sense it sometimes here in the stomach when I'm really deeply in meditation, but usually I feel it here, and embarrassingly, I do feel it here, and sometimes I feel it on my mouth. I talk before I think sometimes, so it's a very light level. But the reason why I'm explaining to you, this is Master's from Spiritual Investigation of Master. He's found this out, that your mind, the deeper thinker you are, the more religious you become, the more spiritual you become, your mind goes deeper to your lower abdomen. So the reason why I say this is because you know how I was talking about, in order to condition your mind to believe, to have that rich soil, it's necessary to say, I believe every morning, yeah? But just check in the morning when you say, I believe 10 times. Are you saying it here? Are you saying it here? Or are you saying it here? And when you close your eyes, and what I do is I love using imagination. I believe that words of power has spiritual energy. So in my mind, when I say, I believe, I see this like bright golden letters of saying, I believe. And then it kind of like melts down through my throat, into my chest, and to my lower abdomen. I believe. It melts in. That's the kind of image that I use to say I believe. But man, once I started practicing this, things have changed. Again, the soil is getting richer. So I think I am receptive to prayers more. Now let's move on. Also, making prayer your habit or a part of your lifestyle is crucial. At the end of this service, I'll be teaching you how to make your prayer effective 10,000 times. But that's what we do here in Happy Science. Once in the morning and once at night, we use a very powerful sutra to pray. But not only the morning and nights. What's very important is to have prayer a part of your habitual thinking. So even when you're commuting, even while you're eating lunch, or even before an important project or your test or something, use prayers. Use a short prayer. And you know how sometimes we daydream, but instead of daydreaming, you should be day praying. You should pray during the day. Make it a habit. We have 24 hours a day, and what occurs in the mind feels much slower compared to the time here on earth. Meaning we can think a lot in the span of 1 minute. So we can pray a lot in a span of 1 minute. So use short times of prayer during the day. Again, I'll be teaching you many different techniques later, but do it from during the day. Also, the next point, it's important to pray deep. This what I mean is, praying from the bottom of your stomach, but it's important to pray slowly, deliberately, and reflectively. These are the terms that Peel used. I love it. Saying it slowly, deliberately means like purposely. You mean it. You mean what you're saying, You're not just doing this because you saw a minister of Happy Science telling you that prayer works, but you say this because you believe it works. That's what you're purposely doing. You're deliberately applying the words of positivity, words of God, words of Buddha into your mind, deliberately. And also, reflectively. So after you pray those words, contemplate on it. Think about it. Allow yourself to go into deep, long, introverted meditation, concentration. Think about the words that you're praying. Reflectively, I thought, was a very good word that Peel has taught us. Next is repetition is the key. Minds have tendencies. Repeat until your subconscious accepts. So, the funny thing about the subconscious mind is it despises change. It hates the change. It loves the way it used to be. So when you start applying these new positive prayers into your mind, what happens is your subconscious is like, no, I'm sorry, no, I'm not going to accept that. That's like totally new to me. I don't want this. And that's the emotion we get sometimes. When we pray big, it's like, wait, can I really do this? or wait, is this prayer actually going to work? You know, that kind of doubt, it's coming from your subconscious. So it despises change. But what we need to do is allow our subconscious to accept positivity, and so that it despises negative information. It's hard though. It is hard to switch your subconscious to this level. It is extremely hard. It takes practice, and again, it takes repetition. You have to repeatedly do it over and over again. And it's a practice of something that you cannot see. That's what makes it harder. But please give it a try. Use simple words every day of prayers for 3 weeks. It's said that if you continue something every day for 3 weeks, it turns into your new habit. So change it into a habit, and then eventually your mind will completely change. But unfortunately, Master has taught us that not even 1 out of 100 people can actually stick with this habit. From his observations, he found that not even 1 out of 100 can continue this promise. But please, 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 give it a try. It really works. You want assurance? Science has proved it. So please give it a try. Next, I love this word, how he says prayerize, picturize, and actualize. So Peel, he is teaching us that we should pray and also picture or visualize that prayer actually taking effect and the results of the prayer actually already manifesting. That's a very important part. Imagination is very important. In Japanese, the word imagination, it's called sozo. And also the word creation it's called sozo. So creation and imagination is the same term in Japanese, even though it's different kanjis, but it's the same term. So when you imagine, you can create. So not just praying, but imagining. Why is imagining so important? This is from The Power of Your Subconscious Mind from Joseph Murphy. But Murphy is saying that if you are able to imagine something, picturize it, you're using all senses in your mind, all senses in your subconscious. And, a picture speaks 1,000 words. So if you picture something, that's like 1,000 words of prayer, if I were to literally translate that. But that's what it means. Picturize it, visualize it. And this is not a person that I studied for today's Sunday service, but what's his name? I'm losing the track of my thought. The one who wrote Think and Grow Rich. Napoleon Hill. Napoleon Hill also says, what a man can believe and conceive, he can achieve. So believing, I guess, would be prayers, right? Conceive is you're picturizing it, and then you can achieve. So all of these people are using different terms, but they're talking about the same process. You pray for something, and then you allow your subconscious to listen to it, right? And then eventually you start visualizing it, and you even allow that visualization for your subconscious to accept. And then it will actualize and materialize. So it takes practice. It does take practice. So let us learn how to be able to practically apply this hard practice into our daily lives. The first step is to use simple words. Use simple words. So I just jotted down a couple of the prayers that I've been repeating recently, and I've been seeing a great effect in my mind. I've just been doing this for a week and a half, but I feel so much difference in my mind. So some of the examples are repeat I can 10 times. Again, slowly, deliberately, and reflectively. Also, I believe, I just talked about that earlier. Tomorrow is going to be a greater day than today. Tomorrow is going to be greater than today. That's another one. I am overflowing with God's light. Use your imagination in this one. It's so powerful. God is with me, God is helping me, and God is guiding me. When we face reality, is like, you see, the reality is what stops us from continuing prayers, right? But what's important is when you feel that you're defeated, ask the help of God. Ask the help for Buddha or El Cantare. Don't think that you're facing this alone. That gives you so much encouragement. And it gives you the encouragement to continue praying. You see, prayers is already scientifically proven as long as you don't stop that application. So you have to continue. You have to persist. So when I feel that, oh gosh, I'm losing my prayer power, I'm losing my belief, I go to this sentence: God is with me. God's helping me overcome this. And also, God is guiding me. How would it be impossible if God's guiding me? I kind of like persuade myself like that. And then I guess this one's related to that. With God's help, I can self-transform. With God's help, I can self-transform. I can change myself. I can change my ego. I can change my false self. And then these two in the end, very powerful. I can do all things through El Cantare, who strengthens me. Or through El Cantare, I make things possible. Or if you're working at something with a team, through El Cantare, we make things possible. This last one has been working greatly for me. Through El Cantare, we make things possible. Like, your teammate starts looking like companions of light. They start looking like, comrades isn't too much of a good word, but comrades of light. It feels like you're having this invincible team, which you actually are, depending on how you think. So this mind will transition you to be able to believe that everything is already given for you to succeed. Everything is already given for you to become happy and successful. All right, so today I didn't really have a specific book to ask for our book ambassador. So our book ambassador, Annette, she has talked about her own, experience of prayers. And she talks a little bit about Come What May and a prayer of thanks. But let us watch her, not a book review, but her prayer techniques or prayer experiences. It's about 6 minutes.
Hi, my name is Annette. I am the book ambassador for New York Temple. I hope everyone's doing well today. Today's topic, today is not really a book review or book talk. It is more about actually taking a look at our prayers. So there's some reading involved. But this is more so a practice that we have in Happy Science, and I'm pretty sure the idea of prayer is very familiar with many people who have a spiritual or religious belief. The two main prayers I would like to discuss about today are Come What May and Prayer of Thanks. These are two prayers that we have in Happy Science, and both of these prayers are very special because they focus solely on gratitude to the Lord. We also have prayer to the Lord and prayer to guardian guiding spirits as well, which also the purpose of those recitation is gratitude to the Lord and also gratitude to the angels that are watching over us in heaven. So you see the theme here, right? Gratitude. So the beautiful thing about prayer is to understand that when you recite a prayer with an open heart and a pure heart, you are sharing that gratitude to the heavenly beings in heaven. Isn't that's just think about it. Like, this is like your little way of talking and calling and sharing to those beings in heaven. And it's just a beautiful practice that we have in Happy Science. We emphasize prayer for several reasons. I would like to talk about three specifically today. One, we recite prayer because this is our way to connect to the heavenly world, as I said. This is also the only way we can intune our minds to also in heaven. And we always encourage prayer before we even meditate. Because meditation without prayer, you may be going into meditation with a mind that is not getting like that extra guidance that you may need or extra light that you may need. And prayer does this basically instantly. So definitely encourage prayer before meditation and before you get into deep thought as well. So even if you are like maybe in deep thought about your life, wondering what you should do, wondering if you're dealing with a very particular situation that's really bringing you down, prayer is really great in order to really take a moment to collect your thoughts again. And for some reason, and I've experienced this myself, and many folks in Happy Sense have also experienced this, we get a moment of like inspiration. And that inspiration, you're going to realize like, oh, I found a solution to my problem, or I found a idea that may help me find a solution to my problem, and I should give it a chance. So this is why prayer is very important to us. A second reason is because we believe that prayer brings miracles into our lives. Miracles are paramount to your spiritual training. If you do not feel you've ever experienced a miracle or seen anything in your life as a miracle, that is a starting point for you in your spiritual training then. Because one of the miracles that everybody can understand and believe in is that we are here on earth and we're all here together on this planet. That itself is a miracle. You being born is a miracle. That's the very first miracle that everyone can share. It really comes from that. And then the third point is to remind yourself, your true self, and to go forward towards your aspirations. Now, we go through life, we go through a lot of things in life, and we sometimes forget who we are. Sometimes we forget our true personality. Sometimes we forget the that wonderful feeling that you well up that you're doing something exciting, or you have a mission, or you have a wonderful thing to look forward to, or even a project that you've been looking forward to do and work on. Prayer reminds us of our aspirations, because once we're connected to the heavenly world, we're reminded of our true self. And then when we're reminded of our true self, your aspirations come up to the surface. You stop forgetting about your aspirations. If you feel that you've been forgetting your aspirations, I actually personally, because I've done this for myself and it does work for me, take more time for prayer than not. Because even though you may be lost and you're feeling like your life is all over the place and you don't remember your aspirations, or you feel like your aspirations are not suited to you, because that does happen when, life gets chaotic and crazy. What's really important is when you actually sit down and pray, just pray. That's it. Just pray, and really pray about not just the prayers that we do in Happy Sense, but also just pray for like, please give me light. Please give me ideas. Please give me motivation. Just asking for these little things is not selfish to the heavenly world, because they want to help you. They want to support you. So I hope that you take a moment today and really consider where you are in your spiritual training, and really take another deep look on why prayer is essential right now, especially in our today's circumstances. Understand that prayer is going to give you the power to get through absolutely anything in life. And that's the end of my talk for today, and I hope everyone has a lovely day. Bye-bye.
All right, thank you, Book Ambassador Annette. I couldn't have said better. I've been privileged to walk through her spiritual journey called life recently for like the past year since I've been the minister here. But boy, oh boy, she, we've been witnessing so many miracles working upon her. So again, even though what she was saying is theoretical, there are theories and also methods, but that's proven through her experience. That's why I think there's so much power behind her words and so much persuasive power behind her words. Okay, now let's move on to the next topic, which is how to increase your prayer power. Prayer power. So, depending on what level you're at, prayers work differently. The outcomes are different. We simply call that prayer power. The first step, I've been talking about this throughout this workshop today, but you have to convince your subconscious. You have to have a good soil to grow crop. How do you do it? One sure method is deepening your faith. In the Bible, it says, according to your faith, be it unto you. So depending on the level of your faith, the power of your thought changes. The stronger the faith, the stronger the power of your thought. In this book, The Laws of Future, written by Master Ryu Hokawa, in the first chapter, prologue chapter, page 23, he says something like this, and I quote, "Your environment, personality, and future will change when you change your mind. The fundamental power behind all of these is the power of faith. Faith is very much like connecting your pipes to the main water supply. Turning the tap will allow the water to flow from the main supply to your house. That is faith. Even if there is water in the main supply, unless you turn the tap with your faith, water will not flow. Similarly, through believing, affirming, and accepting, you shall be given limitless power. The power of belief is something that is not taught in schools. You can only learn it through religion or religious education. Just as your true Father is limitless and invincible in heaven, so must you be, limitless and invincible here on earth. This is what it means to obtain victory through faith." Thank you, Master. A very powerful quote. But again, deepening your faith is the way to be able to increase your prayer power because you become closer and closer to the Creator, El Cantare. And one passage I thought was interesting in the Power of Positive Thinking by Peel. The surest way into truth is by perception, by intuition, by reasoning to a certain point, then by taking a mortal leap, and by intuition attaining the truth. You come to a glorious moment when you just know. Have you experienced this before? Fortunately, I finally have. When I was in LA Temple, I remember giving a similar topic on a Sunday service, and I was confessing how I am still trying to defeat my the Yushi inside of me that tries to think rationally, that tries to think reasonably, and that Yushi would always interfere from me having pure faith. So then, back then, I decided to pray like this. El Cantare, please change me so that I can believe. Please change me so that I can purely just believe. And ever since then, I haven't been saying this prayer daily basis, but every once in a while, those words, it comes out and I just tell myself. It's like in Buddhist terms, precepts, a rule that you put on yourself for your spiritual training. But it was kind of my precept, telling myself, pure faith, please give me pure faith. El Cantare, please give me pure faith. So you know how Jesus said, ask and it shall be given? So what I asked for was pure faith. I asked for pure faith. And then there was this moment that it just clicked. It just worked. When did it work for me? What I mean is it's on a specific subject. It's about life after death. Our staff did a phenomenal Sunday service last week. It's called Coping with Death. It's in our YouTube channel. I highly recommend you watching it. But For me, the moment I knew that my faith crystallized was when I just knew that the afterlife exists. I, it's not like I've seen it. Um, it's not. It wasn't. There wasn't any proof. But the thing is, when you reach this point, the state of my mind is, who gives? You don't need a proof because you just know. It's like a spiritual chemistry. It's something just changes in your mind. And when I reached that moment, afterwards, so many things have been changing around my life. Much more spiritual phenomena is occurring. So it's a gradual step. I know the pain. I really, really know the pain. I myself may look like a very positive person, but sometimes, not a lot of people know, but I have a very delicate heart. And I had a boss once who was born from positivity, right? He's the head of international headquarters right now. But having him as my boss, I really admired him. I wanted to be like that, but I always found myself like not being able to be that positive. And it hurts when you're in that period of life. And it hurts even more when you're told that prayers work in that when you're in that mental state. It hurts to be told that being positive is good. I went through that. But if you are suffering from that certain topic, it means that you already have the destiny to be able to use that power, to be able to overcome it. Because Alcantara has taught us that God will never give us a burden that we cannot carry. So if that pain is in with you right now, that's the proof that you will eventually be able to be a fantastic, positive person that will be able to use the power of prayers to change your life, others' lives, your society, your country, and even this planet. So please have faith. Please stick to it. No matter what, you will get there. I promise you. And I've been talking about Norman Vincent Peale a lot. I'm going to be showing you the 10 steps to make prayers more effective by Dr. Peale. But the reason why I emphasize so much on Dr. Peale is because Master Yuho Okawa he says that Norman Vincent Peale's philosophy is very close to his own philosophy, and he's been helped a lot in his younger days. This is actually a spiritual message of Norman Vincent Peale that Master has conducted a couple years ago. And I would like to quote Master's introduction before he got into the spiritual message. To tell the truth, in my younger days, I was very much influenced by Peale's thoughts, and I think this is the most influential thinking power for me and for the world. I repeat, the most influential thinking power for me and for the world. Now I am in a position more difficult than he was in during his age. Even today, I sometimes feel difficulties, and in some meaning, when I make a mistake, I feel kind of depressed. On such a rainy day, I think about Norman Vincent Peale. His positive thinking power is still shining in my mind. I can easily recover my power and want to fight against any difficulties. This thinking power is one of my diamond-like thoughts. So I have much respect for him. So Norman Vincent Peale's philosophy is a diamond-like thought for El Cantare. That's how powerful it is. And in this book, The Power of Positive Thinking, that Peale wrote, he talks about 10 steps to make prayers more effective. So I'm just going to go through it. I'm just going to zip it through. Number 1, set aside a few minutes every day. Do not say anything. Simply practice thinking about God. This will make your mind spiritually receptive. 2, then pray orally, using simple, natural words. Tell God anything that is on your mind. Do not think you must use stereotyped pious phrases. Talk to God in your own language. He understands it. 3, pray as you go about the business of the day on the subway or bus or at your desk. Utilize minute prayers by closing your eyes to shut out the world and concentrating briefly on God's presence. The more you do this every day, the nearer you will feel God's presence. 4. Do not always ask when you pray, but instead affirm that God's blessings are being given and spend most of your prayers giving thanks. 5. Prayer with the belief that sincere prayers can reach out and surround your loved ones with God's love and protection. 6. Never use a negative thought in prayer. Only positive thoughts get results. 7. Always express willingness to accept God's will. Ask for what you want, but be willing to take what God gives you. It may be better than what you ask for. 8. Practice the attitude of putting everything in God's hands. Ask for the ability to do your best and to leave the results confidently to God. 9. Pray for people you do not like or who have mistreated you. Resentment is blockade number 1 of spiritual power. 10. Make a list of people for whom to pray. The more you pray for other people, especially those not connected with you, the more prayer results will come back to you. All right, thank you, Dr. Peel. I wanted to just emphasize number 4. Do not always ask when you pray, but instead affirm that God's blessings are being given and spend most of your prayers giving thanks. So going back to the article that was written on Wall Street Journal, there was a very interesting passage. Right here. People pray for many reasons, including for guidance, thanksgiving, solace, or protection. But not all prayer is created equal, experts say. A 2004 study on religious coping methods in the Journal of Health Psychology found that people who approach God as a partner or collaborator in their life had better mental and physical health outcomes. And people who are angry at God, who feel punished or abandoned, or who relinquish responsibility and defer to God for solutions, had worse outcomes. It's similar to the way a loving relationship to a partner brings out the best in you, says Dr. Pargament, the lead researcher on the study. Very interesting, right? So don't just use God. That's completely wrong. Completely wrong. I'd say maybe 90% of your prayers could be gratitude. And then in the last 10%, ask for help for the purpose of helping other people. Again, this is a very important part. Please have gratitude when you pray and accept the outcome. These 10 slides that I showed you, you can always rewind back to it. Take notes of it and write it out, like have it on your desk or something. These 10 methods will really help you make your prayers effective, I believe. Okay, I gotta wrap it up, so I'm just gonna quickly go through this. How to increase prayer power from Master Okawa's teachings. Let's learn from Master Okawa. Now, the next slide that I'm about to show you is one of the teachings from this book, The Science of Happiness, but it may be a hard words to take in, but it's so important, so I've decided to incorporate this teaching at this timing in the seminar. And he quotes in this book, or he writes in this book, "No matter how hard you pray, there are times when your prayers do not reach heaven. It is an undeniable fact that a certain set of laws governs the world of prayer. You must learn these laws." So, unfortunately, just ardently praying is not the path for your prayers to be heard. There's a specific requirement. And I would say there is a premise and then a requirement. Let's look at this book, The Origin of Love. He says that you need to take 3 steps to prepare before you get into prayer so that the prayers are heard. 1 is humility, 2 is purity of the mind, purify the mind, and then 3, don't think of prayer as a give and take relationship with God. Right. So humility, being humble. What is humbleness? For me, humbleness is separated into 2 words, gratitude and self-help. Gratitude and self-help. If you're humble, you're full of gratefulness. If you're humble, you're always making diligent efforts. So humility is the first requirement. Purity of the mind. I guess this is like egolessness, so you're not praying selfishly. And then the third one, not a give and take relationship. So don't be like, God, I believe you, so you better give me this. That's unfortunate. That's such a wrong mindset to have during prayers. And then after you have prepared your mind with these 3 steps, there are 3 conditions for the prayers to be heard that is taught in the science of happiness: beauty, goodness, and love. Beauty. Beauty is what makes faith true faith and what makes prayer true prayer. It proves authenticity of faith and prayer. So meaning a beautiful prayer is, it's a prayer that's completely selfless. Goodness. Ask yourself if the prayer is oriented towards goodness. You'll know. So if you don't, you will know if you don't feel embarrassed to write it down for others to read. So let's say that you write out your prayers and someone else sees it. All the people in the world sees it. God sees it and your angels see it. Everyone sees it, and will you not feel ashamed or embarrassed? That means it's a good prayer. And 3, love. Without love, prayers are just dead words. Is it for the sake of love? Is the question that we should ask always in our hearts to be able to have our prayers heard. Now, this was a little conceptual, right? It was theoretical. So today's topic is being practical. So now I'm going to move on to how to make these steps so that your prayer is hearable to the heavenly world. Simple steps. The first one, conditioning your mind before your prayers by reciting the basic sutra, which is the true words spoken by Buddha, prayer to the Lord, and prayer to guardian and guiding spirits. These 3 prayers are a set. I'll be explaining that a little bit later. And then after you recite these 3 prayers, take time to calm your mind. It means to empty out your mind of negativity and fill your heart with positivity. I'll get in more details later. And then at the end, you pray. And there's 2 methods of prayer that Master has taught us. So I'll show you that in the upcoming slide. But first, how to condition your mind by reciting the basic sutra. The true words spoken by Buddha. It's not that long, but compared to like the Christian way of like praying one simple sentences, it may be a little complicated. So I made my effort to make it more simplified. What does this sutra talk about? I mean, this is just my own interpretation, but I was able to kind of like bring it down to like, it talks about these 8 things in a flow. So it starts out by talking about how God or Buddha, the eternal Buddha, created this universe. So by saying those words, it's like you're opening the doors to the Creator. You're allowing the light to come in now. And then when you actually open that door, what you see, what you witness in the world of heaven is the 7 colors of God, or 7 colors of Buddha. It says in the sutra, yellow is the color of teaching, white is the color of saving, red is the color of justice, purple is the color of obedience, blue is the color of thinking, green is the color of harmony, silver is the color of progress. So God has these 7 different elements of teachings, savings, justice, obedience, thinking, harmony, and progress. So you attune your mind, you balance your mind to these 7 attributes of God. And then third, you're going to remind yourself that you have infinite energy. And then it goes on to say that mistakes can be amended. With the truth, you can punt in the stream and you can change the course of life. For me, this helps me melt, I guess, my guilt consciousness. It gives me encouragement that I can change. And then it tells you that you're loving others, you're going to nurture others, you're going to forgive others. And then you also go on to say that you're not going to allow evil to exist. And then after evil is expelled, what happens is you are aspiring to create a utopia. And then you conclude by resolving to the Lord that you're going to continue living on with the right mind. So the simple flow, I believe, is these 8 steps. But after reciting this, we will recite prayer to the Lord and prayer to guardian and guiding spirits. What about prayer to the Lord? It's like, for me, it's making a connection with the Lord Alcantara. The first 4 passages kind of like defines what Alcantara is, what kind of God he is. And by reciting those words, it's like you attune your mind. You fill your hearts with who Alcantara is. And also, please remember, this prayer says us. Please give us light or us wisdom. It never says me. And Master gave a lecture on this prayer before, and he says that the word us means all the people in the world. So every single time you're praying this prayer to the Lord, your mindset has to be focused on all the people in the world, not just for yourself. And then lastly, prayer to guardian and guiding spirits. I take it as like a wake-up call to our guardian and guiding spirits. I mean, they're up in heaven, they're doing their own job, right? But then you kind of like give them a call. Be like, all right, guys, I'm going to enter prayer now, so help me out. And in other words, it's like praying directly to your subconscious. Although I said it's hard to control your subconscious, with this prayer, it's like you get direct access to your subconscious, so your prayer powers, efficiency will increase a whole lot. And then after you do these 3 basic prayers, please take time of silence, 2 to 3 minutes. In happy science, it's the method called self-reflection and meditation. But simply put, it's like you let go of your attachments or your negative thoughts. I know that our hearts are usually it's filled with attachments. What's an attachment? It's the thought that repeatedly comes into your mind. So let's say that you were hurt by someone's remark in the past, and unknowingly you're always remembering those words, repeating in your mind. Or an unfortunate incident that occurred in the past that still is repeated as if it occurred yesterday. Or the fear towards the future or anxiety towards the future. If you feel that as it hasn't even happened, it probably even won't if you don't think like that, but you feel it as if it's in your heart right now. So you're pulling in these past and future negativity into the present, but that's what an attachment is. So let it go. Let it go. The best way of letting go of attachments is an analysis of the cause and effect of why it led you to think like that. Yes, maybe someone has hurt you with their remarks, but why is it that you're continuing to be hurt from those words? There's always a pattern inside your mind that clings on to those words. And then secondly, think peaceful thoughts. So after you let go of these attachments, start thinking of a peaceful scenery. Master said that in heaven, there aren't any cities. The heavenly world, actually, the higher dimensions you go, there aren't any cities. The Master said that it's all a beautiful wilderness. So thinking peaceful scenery, it will help you align your thoughts to the higher dimensions. And then once you feel that calmness without negativity and peace, start visualizing that bright future. Start picturizing it. If you have taken this process so far until this visualization, it's, my goodness, this one visualization will probably be more powerful than hundreds of your past visualizations if you haven't taken these steps. And then, after the visualization is done, that's when we pray. Master has taught us in The Origin of Love that there are 2 methods of prayers. One is realizing your wish, and one is to recharge your energy. So that will be the third step of prayer. The third step in order to reach prayers. And today I was hoping to practice these 3 steps together, but I may have been possessed by a very positive spirit, so I totally went over time. So we won't be doing the practice, but on our YouTube link, there is our morning prayers. So you can always play that, and you can pray with us. And you please practice this 3 steps, 3 basic prayers, meditation to empty out your mind, and then prayers. And for those who has the book, The Science of Happiness, in the very end, he talks about, the chapter is the principle of prayers, but he actually writes a prayer of creating a utopia. It's very powerful, so please take a look. And then last but not least, next week, we will be putting the prayer into action. So we're going to be having a ritual prayer service. A ritual prayer service is, you know how I was talking about specific spiritual principles applied in prayers? One of them is the laws of attraction. So even if you're at the purest moment of your prayers, let's say that you practice this over and over again, these 3 steps, if you're at your purest level, that means you're at the highest at your potential. And the highest of your potential means it's at the level of which dimension you came from the heavenly world. Meaning, you can't surpass that because of the laws of same-length attraction. Therefore, in Happy Science, we have something called kigans, or ritual prayers. Now, this is cheating, guys. It's unbelievable. So what is this ritual prayer? It surpasses this laws of attraction. You are allowed to get into an elevator, a spiritual elevator. You are elevated up to the 8th, 9th dimensions, the highest parts in the heavenly world, and you're allowed to offer your prayers directly to those beings in that highest spiritual realm. You will not be able to do this in your own prayers. That's why a ritual prayer has so much more power, and that's probably the reason why there is so many miracles that are occurring here in Happy Science. So we'll be holding that service next week from 1 o'clock. And also, before the ritual prayer service, it's going to be a gratitude service. And what will we be offering our gratitude to? Master has given us a new weapon of light. He has composed a music. It's called The Thunder. And if you see this link right here, I know it's not clickable on your screens. I'll make sure to have this in the descriptions later. But from this link, you can download this music. Masters taught us that it's been guided by Beethoven, the spirit of Beethoven. And it was specifically composed for the purpose of defeating the coronavirus. So there is a PR video. What's going to be playing in the back is the actual music, but please take a listen. It's about 30 seconds. Oh man, if I was a coronavirus, I would feel so afraid. But this song, The Thunder, you can download again from that link, and we'll be doing in our gratitude service. We'll be offering Master for his, my goodness, wow, he's so talented, isn't he? He's composing music now. But we'll be offering our gratitude to Master Okawa, and then having the ritual prayers next week. All right, so that concludes today's Sunday service. Now I would like to move on. I'm going to end this YouTube live, and we're going to move on to Zoom. So on Zoom, the Zoom ID number is 493-928-5535. If you want to have a live discussion and a Q&A, please join. We'll be going till 12 o'clock. And give us like 2 or 3 minutes of transitioning from the YouTube to Zoom. All right, thank you very much for listening. I hope this has helped.